Hi folks, a lot of the questions and videos I see on YouTube by photographers, aspiring photographers, are often centered around wedding photography. This video obviously explains itself why I don't like photographing weddings. It was one of the first things I ever did as a youngster with my first camera, which was a Zenith E. I did a few weddings at registry offices for friends and so on, and that's how I got into photography. But over the last few years, for me, from my creative side, which I cannot detach from, I must say that I really do not like photographing weddings. Why? Well, number one, I think that over the last few years, with smartphones, camera phones, etc., people have become totally inconsiderate about the value of the couple's photographs. When a bride is walking up the aisle, it is one of the most important moments in the wedding for the whole day. Everybody should really be looking at the bride. The style of the photo, the mood of the photo is extremely important. But nowadays, what do we get when we try to photograph that beautiful moment? This is what we get. Lots and lots of people looking like this, holding their damn smartphones up and ruining the bride and groom's photos forever. It looks ridiculous now. God knows how ridiculous it will look in 10 or 20 years' time when we have something different. No matter what you say to people, they don't take any notice. They will always try to sneak in a photo or a video for their Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is, and they pay zero consideration to the couple's photographs and the photographer who has to face handing over photos that have been ruined by the bride and groom's guests who just will not listen. Every time I have walked around and asked people, please keep your phones down and all face towards the bride and follow her with your eyes as she's walking up the aisle. That is the moment where I will literally take hundreds of images just to get that one with the right expression at the right time. But no matter what I do, somewhere in that photo, there's at least a handful of people with their damn smartphones up in the air. Keep your phones in your pockets. Do not ruin people's weddings. For me, I really can't stand the thought of handing over photographs that have been ruined by the guests. I'm very creative when it comes to photos, and I'm very much a perfectionist, and I just can't bring myself to hand over that sort of image because it's been ruined, and it's been ruined forever. Second reason is that with the onset of digital photography, everybody thinks they're a photographer. It's never been easier to get yourself a mirrorless or a DSLR, and it is very, very difficult to actually control the day because there is always Uncle Fred with his Canon or Nikon that he recently bought, who's following you around and crowding you, and every time you set up a pose, he's interfering and he starts taking photos. Now, does that matter? Yes, it does, because no end of times this person that's just here or just there starts clicking away, and inadvertently people's eyes look there instead of looking at me. It's ruined so many shoots for me because it's very difficult to tell the bride's uncle, the groom's uncle, cousin, friend, whatever, please stay away. And for me, it just makes it so stressful and such hard work. And yet again, sometimes I capture beautiful images and then half of the guests are looking towards the other way because somebody else is snapping away like mad and crowding my shoot. And the third reason is the onset of the Bridezilla. I think that really over the last few years, people have started to become quite delusional. They often don't look at what suits them, what suits the occasion, what suits the day. And once again, I really shouldn't be bothered by it. Yes, as a professional, when you're hired for the day, you are there to do a job, to take high quality professional images. However, for me, as I've got older and I've become more obsessed with my own creativeness, which is wrong maybe from a professional point of view, I find it harder and harder to actually be satisfied with images of people who are just dressed so inappropriately, so ridiculously. I just find them an abomination at times. So really, it's not for me. Occasionally I will do the odd one, but I really couldn't see myself doing it all the time. I wouldn't like to be doing 30, 40 weddings a year. Good luck to those of you who do. But for those of you entering into photography, if you're thinking of something along those lines, you firstly need to ask yourself, why are you interested in photography? Do you just like holding a camera and pointing it at people? Do you just like taking photographs? Or do you take pride in your images? Do you like being creative? Do they mean something to you? Do they express an emotion, a captured moment, anything? If that is the case, then you may end up where I am and you may struggle with it. And it can be very, very upsetting when you have something in mind and you are seeing something in your mind's eye and you have almost managed to capture it, but it has been ruined by Uncle Bob or Mr. Pissing iPhone. So give that some thought before you venture down that road, because it's not really glamorous. It's actually very stressful. Yes, there are a few very, very successful wedding photographers who have flown around the world for important weddings, but there's only a handful of those. And that in itself carries its own responsibilities, pressures, and risks. Again, that's not something I would want to do. For me, photography is not about being in a high stress environment. Photography is about art, and photography is about using the camera to create something beautiful that will last forever. So just a few points for you to note. If you have any thoughts, any comments, mention them below. Okay, speak to you next time. Bye.